What's up everyone? So today I'm doing a versus video between the Sony XB950N1 and the Beats Solo 3. A good friend of mine is in the market for some headphones and they don't really want to spend more than $300. He's also a big fan of hip hop and R&B, so naturally the Sony XB950N1 and the Beats Solo 3 came to mind. So let's compare the two. So money wise, the Sony XB950N1 retail for around $250 and come in two colorways, black or green. The Beats Solo 3 come in 8 different colorways, and when it comes to price, things get a little interesting. Apple's site currently sells them for $299.95, but I found an awesome deal directly from Amazon where the gloss black ones are on sale for $189.99. And you can get most of the other colors for $219 or less. I'm not sure how long this deal will last, but I'll have links in the description below so you can get either one. Sure, both the Sony XB950N1 and the Beats Solo 3 are made mostly out of plastic and they have very similar build qualities, but these two products are very different from one another and I believe they target two very different consumers. These two headphones have two very different designs. The Sony headphones are on the larger side and like I've said in past videos, you can still see them in your peripheral vision when you put them on. Some people might even say they feel a little silly walking around with them on in public. The Sony XB950N1 also have two very important features the Beats Solo 3 don't have, and that's noise cancellation and an extra bass feature. But the Beats Solo 3 also have two features the Sony XB950N1 doesn't have, and that's the W1 chip and fast charging capabilities. And not to mention, their smaller size make them a whole lot easier to travel with. Like I just said, I think Sony and Beats by Dre, aka Apple, are gunning for two very different consumers. Although the Sony headphones are larger, their ear cups go over the ear, which results in added comfort and better passive noise isolation. They also have an extra bass feature which is meant for people who absolutely love bass. You can even adjust how much bass they have through their smartphone app. The Sony XB950N1 also have active noise cancellation which does a very decent job. It's not as good as the Bose QC35, but the noise cancellation is still very good. This leads me to believe that Sony is really trying to cater to audiophiles looking for something relatively affordable. Apple, on the other hand, seems to be catering for the average Joe everyday user. The Beats Solo 3 have a 40-hour battery life which just destroys the Sony XB950N1's 22-hour battery life. They also have Apple's new W1 chip that just makes switching between either of your Apple devices super easy. Sure, the Sony XB950N1 have Bluetooth 4.1 and pair with up to 2 devices simultaneously, but switching between different devices just isn't as seamless as the Beats Solo 3. So if you're heavily invested into Apple's ecosystem, the W1 chip might matter a lot. The Beats Solo 3 also feature fast fuel, which will get you 3 hours of playback from just 5 minutes of charging. And if you're always on the go, this feature can really come in handy. Apple is really pushing their "it just works" philosophy with these. Sound-wise, Beats by Dre have always been bass heavy, and the Beats Solo 3 are no exception. They sound a little better than the Beats Solo 2, but that's not saying much. The bass on the Solo 3 can be a little overpowering at times, the highs can get a little tinny, and the soundstage isn't as wide as other headphones in the $300 price bracket. The Sony XB950N1 on the other hand sound way better. And as the box implies, these headphones have a lot of bass in them. But unlike the Beats Solo 3, the bass on the Sony XB950N1 isn't overpowering. It's very clear, and they actually add to the listening experience instead of reducing the overall sound quality. Like I mentioned earlier, traveling with the Beats Solo 3 can be a little easier due to their smaller size, and they also come included with the soft shell carrying case. It doesn't do much, but I do prefer it over the pouch Sony includes with their XB950N1. If you do decide to travel with the XB950N1, it would be a good idea to invest in a third-party hardshell case. Overall, Sony and Apple took two very different approaches with their headphones. Apple decided to push their "it just works" philosophy by giving the Beats Solo 3 a 40-hour battery life, fast fuel, and a W1 chip that makes switching between your Apple devices a breeze. But the Beats Solo 3 aren't the most comfortable headphones out there, and their sound quality is just meh. Sony, on the other hand, is trying to give premium features at a reasonable price. The active noise cancellation on the Sony XB950N1 is decent, and they generally sound really good. Not to mention, their extra bass feature really helped make them stand out. But their larger size and shorter battery life can be a setback if you're always on the go with them. Not to mention, reverting back to Bluetooth 4.1 after using the W1 chip for a while can be a little annoying. First world problems. If I had to choose between the two, I would pick the Sony XB950N1 hands down, but getting the gloss black Beats Solo 3 for $189.99 is a pretty solid deal. Hey, if you made it this far, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you could, please high-five the like button, it helps the channel grow. If you like videos like this, subscribe. There are more product reviews and fitness advice videos coming. For more, check out jimcarrey.net, and I'll catch you next time.